Today we're going to talk about graphing functions in MyOpenMath. We're going to look at just the basic functions, x squared, x cubed, square root, cube root, absolute value of x, 1 over x. I'm not going to do all 6 of these, but I'll do enough to show you how you're supposed to graph them and important points that need to be graphed for you to get your answers correct. Let's start with this, y equals the square root of x minus 1. So the first thing you should notice is that you're always going to get this toolbar that's going to give you choices for the shape of the graph. So it's important that you know what shape goes with what function. This square root looks like this one right here. So what we need to do is click where the graph starts. So x minus 1 says this is going to start at 1, 0. And then I need to give it how much it opens. So I need to know at least one more point. Well, I know that the point 2, 1 is also on the graph, and then you could submit the question. Let me show you that one more time. Say I had the square root of x plus 5. So that one starts at negative 5. So again, make sure you click the right graph. Start at negative 5. And let's say I picked too big. So when I submit the question, I'm going to get it wrong. What I want to show you is that you don't have to start over. If the only thing you did was pick the second point wrong, you can go to where it turns from a pencil into the crosshairs, and then you can move that point. So I really want to move that point a lot lower. I want it to be at negative 4, 1, and then I submit the question, and it says good job. Sometimes you'll notice that the graph may ask you for a certain number of points. This one says to graph 3 points and the cubic function. So to start, I'm going to graph 3 points that is on this function. I click on the point, and I'm going to hit 0, 0. I also know that the point 1, negative 1 would be on this function, and the point negative 1, 1 is on the function. So you're going to get these points by either plugging them into the function or knowing the basic shape of the function and knowing what happens from this transformation of it being negative. Once I have my points, I want to go back here and pick which of these functions I'm graphing, and I'm graphing the cube. So I'm going to click in the middle, and then one other point. If I'm graphing the reciprocal function, I want to start by clicking on it, and I still click the origin, and then I need to see where the graph is at after that, so see how this moves my points away. So with the reciprocal function, we don't actually start with a point on the graph, we start at the origin, and then we move to a point on the graph. Pay special attention to quadratics, or what we call square terms. With square terms, you want to make sure that you start with the vertex. So I'm going to click on here, and then I'm going to go over to negative 3. And then I have to have at least one more point on the graph. The negative being inside this function, when I square it's going to be positive, so this one will open up. So I'm just going to click one point to the right, and then submit. Let's do one more. This one says, g of x is 3 times the square root of x. You're supposed to give 3 distinct points. With the square root of x, I want to start at the origin because this doesn't move to the right or to the left this time. And then when I'm thinking of my 3 points, they're only going to be on the right side because I have a restricted domain. So when I put in 1, I would get 3. That 3 shows me this transformation of stretching. And then the third point I would put on is if I were to put in 4, square root of 4 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, so over here at 4, 6, I have another point. I grab the shape of the graph, and then I make sure it goes through the points. So throughout the section, make sure you're paying attention to when do you just draw, like it said in this one, and when do you sketch and include 3 distinct points. When it says points, make sure you use the point tool along with the shape of the graph.